The country is under the influence of its seasonal rain, starting in the south with Jeju Island seeing heavy downpours and putting the authorities on alert against any possible weather-related damage. Japan has completed its underwater tunnel to release wastewater from the destroyed Fukushima nuclear power plant. The Korean government sees the discharge as one of the few realistic solutions, but has reiterated on proving its safety first. And to curb the private education market, which the government sees as overheated, it'll remove from the college entrance exam questions deemed to be too difficult for high school students, among other measures unveiled today to underpin public education. It's June 26, 2023. This is News Center. Good evening. Thank you for joining us. I'm Yoon Jung-min. We start with the weather, a concern for many here in Korea around this time of the year. With the start of the annual monsoon season, heavy rainfall pounded the southern regions today, including Jeju. No major damages were reported so far, but it's keeping the authorities on high alert. Our Shin Se-byuk reports.
Heavy rainfall is drenching South Korea. The monsoon season began on Monday with southern regions of the mainland and Jeju Island first hit by torrential downpours. From Sunday to 7 a.m. Monday, Jeju saw 50 to 200 millimeters of rain, with parts of Hallasan Mountain on the resort island receiving as much as 226 millimeters. The rain is continuing to move northward, bringing heavy downpours to central regions.
The capital region is seeing on and off heavy downpours of 20 to 40 millimeters of rain per hour. The weather agency says the rain will continue until Tuesday afternoon as a low pressure system moves through.
Other regions across the country are also receiving up to 40 millimeters of rain per hour. Those seeing particularly heavy rains are Gyeongsangbuk-do province, where heavy rain alerts are issued as of 5 p.m. Korea time. Such downpours across the nation have prompted the Central Disaster and Safety Countermeasure Headquarters to issue Level 1 of the emergency response, which is the lowest of the three-tier system that can be taken during a natural disaster. The Safety Authority has also raised its alert level from attention to caution. There haven't been major casualties or damages reported yet, but the government is taking preemptive measures. President Yoon Suk-yeol has begun working in emergency mode to monitor possible damage during the monsoon season. Also last weekend, Yoon instructed relevant authorities to thoroughly prepare for damage such as flooding in below-ground level homes and underground parking lots. According to the Korea Meteorological Administration, the rain will taper off starting Tuesday afternoon, but before that, most regions will see heavy rains of 20 to 40 millimeters per hour accompanied by gusts, thunder, and lightning. Those in the southern regions and Jeju Island will see particularly heavy rains of 40 to 60 millimeters. The central region, including the capital area, will have sporadic showers at times. Shin Se-byuk, Arirang News.
Japan's release of wastewater from Fukushima is drawing closer as reports say the underwater tunnel to be used to discharge it has been completed. Our political correspondent Han Sung with the details.
The underwater tunnel that Japan is planning to use this summer to release wastewater from its destroyed Fukushima nuclear power plant is now complete. According to Fukushima Central Television, excavators used to dig the tunnel for a pipeline were removed Monday morning with the help of a large crane. The completion comes after a one-day delay, as the Tokyo Electric Power Company suspended the withdrawal on Sunday due to high seas. Japan's Nuclear Regulation Authority is scheduled to conduct a final check on Wednesday to ensure that all facilities for the wastewater release function properly.
TEPCO began a trial run of those facilities, including the 1 kilometer-long underwater tunnel, on June 12th. As far as we know, that test run will likely conclude tomorrow on Tuesday.
It's widely expected Japan will discharge the wastewater treated by its advanced liquid processing system after the International Atomic Energy Agency clears it with a soon-to-be-released report on the issue. Public anxiety over the safety of the wastewater release lingers in South Korea, though, prompting the government to hold daily weekday briefings since June 15th in an effort to keep the people updated and informed on what will happen moving forward. Fielding questions on Monday, First Vice Minister of Government Policy Coordination, Park Gu-yeon, told reporters that the currently adopted method of releasing the wastewater into the sea was final. He added that reversing the plan to go back to the stage of negotiating other methods of disposal with Japan and the international community, such as solidifying the water, was not an option at this point.
The current plan of discharging the water was finalized following discussions with the IAEA after it was judged to be the most realistic given safety considerations and scientific precedents.
한성우, Arirang News.
A new task force under the Prime Minister's office will comprehensively manage and support foreign workers in South Korea. This as President Yoon saw the need for more collective and flexible measures to tackle the country's labor shortage, discussing proper measures with Prime Minister Han Duck-soo today. While visas are granted by the Justice Ministry, different ministries are responsible for managing and supporting workers from different industries. The government is reportedly looking to create an immigration agency, but this would require a revision to the current Government Organization Act and would take a bit of time. Food prices are rising higher than a rise in disposable incomes. It's no exception for ramyeon, one of the most food items deemed very affordable in Korea. Our Lee Soo-jin has what's causing the problem.
Trips to the supermarket are putting a dent in consumers' wallets as food prices continue to rise. According to Statistics Korea on Monday, prices of ramyeon during the first quarter of 2023 surged more than 12%, the highest in 15 years since the 2008 global financial crisis. In September last year, South Korea's #1 instant noodle company by sales, Nongshim, raised its prices by more than 11%. This was followed by price hikes that reached nearly 10% for another major instant noodle maker, Palto, and 11% for Ottugi just 1 month later. The government and consumers are both paying close attention to ramyeon prices, as ramyeon is considered to be one of South Korea's main affordable staple food items. With international wheat prices now around 50% lower than they were when those companies hiked prices, Finance Minister Chu Kyung-ho appeared on TV screens last week, where he urged companies to lower instant noodle prices. Consumers have also begun to voice their complaints.
I used to eat a lot of ramen, but since prices have gone up, I tend to eat it less often.
Data from Statistics Korea shows that average monthly disposable income rose 3.4% compared to the 12% rise in consumer prices of ramyeon. Other affordable supermarket items such as snack foods surged more than 13% and ice cream nearly 12% over the same period. The rise in the price of ice cream is also the highest since the second quarter of 2009. The price increase for bread fell slightly but remained high at 14.3% in the first quarter after passing 15% during the fourth quarter of last year. According to an expert, however, consumers may still be able to see prices of some staple food go down.
As international grain prices have gone down and are stabilized, it would make sense for companies to reduce ramyeon prices in around 3 to 6 months.
Consumers may then be able to purchase cheaper ramyeon in the second half of the year. Lee Soo-jin, Arirang News.
In the Middle East, this past weekend, Korea's Hyundai Engineering and Construction sealed a mega deal worth $5 billion with state oil producer Aramco for a petrochemical plant in Saudi Arabia. Moon Hae-ryun has details.
South Korea's construction orders in the Middle East are booming. According to the Ministry of Land, Infrastructure and Transport, South Korean construction firm Hyundai Engineering and Construction signed a major petrochemical plant construction contract on Saturday with Saudi Arabia's Aramco. The $5 billion project is the largest order a South Korean company has won from Saudi Arabia to date, bringing the total of overseas construction orders in the first half of the year to $13.7 billion. This tops the $12 billion recorded in the first half of last year. Hyundai E&C will be responsible for the construction of a mixed feed cracker plant to produce ethylene as well as storage and support facilities. South Korea came out on top despite the fierce competition with the Infrastructure Ministry's formation of the One-Team Korea Support Team for overseas orders and the diplomatic meeting between the minister and Aramco CEO back in March. The South Korean government has been concentrating its efforts on partnerships with Middle East nations in various fields such as defense, IT, and renewable energy, as well as petrochemicals as it looks to improve its weakened exports following the global economic downturn. To keep up this momentum, experts say that cooperation between companies will be crucial.
In order to put the trade balance and overseas construction orders in the black, South Korean companies will need to share relevant information to prevent cutthroat competition in its diversifying markets.
President Yoon Suk-yeol commented on Sunday that this latest endeavor will strengthen economic cooperation between South Korea and Saudi Arabia. Moon Hae-ryun, Arirang News.
Danish wind turbine producer Vestas Wind Systems will move its Asia-Pacific headquarters from Singapore to Seoul in September. The Ministry of Trade, Industry and Energy said Monday that the company will begin the construction of a large-scale turbine parts plant in the first half of 2024 that will produce key equipment for wind turbines to be exported to the entire Asia-Pacific region. Its president and CEO, Henrik Andersen, announced the decision as he met with South Korea's Industry Minister Lee Chang-yang in Seoul. The CEO is reportedly on his trip to Korea to discuss details of its investment plan worth $300 million. South Korea's relative poverty rate among senior citizens is the highest among member nations of the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. According to a report published by Statistics Korea on Monday, the relative poverty rate of those aged 66 or older in 2019 was at 43.2%. South Korea was the only OECD country with a rate exceeding 40%. The relative poverty rate is the proportion of the population living at or below 50% of the median income. As of 2021, the proportion of elderly citizens continuing to work to earn a living has also increased to 65%, 13.4 percentage points higher compared to a decade ago. The South Korean government has rolled out measures to tackle the country's high spending on private education. The Education Ministry on Monday announced plans to eliminate the so-called killer questions from the college entrance exam, often considered beyond the scope of the high school curriculum. These questions have been blamed for driving the demand for private education. This is because cram schools often specialize in teaching students how to solve these questions. The ministry will launch an advisory panel of school teachers to oversee this process. Last year, the country's spending on private education per student reached 410,000 Korean won, or around $314, the highest level since data was first compiled in 2007. In other news, watchers say the short-lived rebellion of the Wagner group has put a dent in Putin's reputation. Our Choi Min-jung explains what this means for the war in Ukraine.
Over the weekend, Russian leader Vladimir Putin saw one of the most serious challenges to his authoritarian rule to date. Wagner Group mercenaries who were proceeding rapidly toward Moscow suddenly halted their advance on Sunday after their safety was guaranteed under a deal allegedly mediated by Belarus. Although bloodshed was avoided, analysts say Putin was left looking diminished.
I think Putin emerges from this significantly weakened. I think if you're a member of the Russian elite, or in fact a member of the Russian population, you're going to look at this and think, wow, a private army just drove on Moscow for most of the day. No one stopped them, and they're allowed to leave and no real consequences.
One analyst says that the march is a win for Ukraine, as Russia's military leadership will not know which paramilitary troops will be trusted to put into the fight against Ukraine.
Easiest and clearest conclusion, though, out of everything that we've witnessed is that Ukraine is on the winning end of this equation. Russia is in turmoil from the political leadership, the military leadership at the senior echelons don't know who to trust.
The Wagner Group has left for Belarus, but much remains unclear as to what will happen to the group and its leader, Yevgeny Prigozhin.
For Wagner, this looks like it might be the end. I would think a lot of people, including Putin, will be rather angry with what we saw here. And Putin often holds a grudge. Him being dead, in a few weeks or months is also not out of the question, and many options in between.
U.S. President Joe Biden and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky held talks over the phone on Sunday to discuss the revolt. Zelensky told Biden that the rebellion had exposed the weakness of Putin's regime. The Wagner Group threatened the Russian leadership over the weekend by getting within 200 kilometers of Moscow before turning back. It had accused Russia of mishandling the war in Ukraine and opening fire on its troops. Choi Min-jung, Arirang News.
BTS member Suga has wrapped up his world tour with the final concerts taking place in Seoul over the weekend. Suga's August D-Tour D-Day in Seoul concerts took place at Jamsil Indoor Stadium on Saturday and Sunday, with around 15,000 fans in attendance. His performances in the South Korean capital wrap up his 2-month journey, during which he entertained 290,000 fans in 10 different cities around the world. Toward the end of last concert, Suga made a surprise announcement that there would be an encore concert at the K-SPO Dome, also in Seoul, this coming August. Time now to take a look at what's been happening in the world of sports. Joining us in the studio is our sports editor, Paul Need. Hello, Paul.
Hello there.
So let's start with baseball. South Korean star Kim Ha-sung seems to be in a good spell of form at the moment. Another home run.
Yes, another, yes. The second baseman Kim Ha-sung on Sunday hit his third home run in 4 games. His latest, a solo home run, came in the bottom of the 7th inning against the Washington Nationals in an eventual 8-3 loss. The homer had made it 8-2 and was his 8th of the season, only 3 away from his 2022 total of 11. It was his only hit at 3 at-bats from the leadoff position, but he has led off in 4 games in a row now and hit home runs last Thursday and Friday against the San Francisco Giants. Meanwhile, over in the UK, 110,000 fans packed into the London Stadium across 2 days to watch the Chicago Cubs take on the St. Louis Cardinals in the MLB London Series. Both games were part of the regular season. The Cubs won the first 9-1 and the Cardinals won the second 7-5. The stadium is usually the home of Premier League team West Ham United, but went under an 18-day transformation. This was the second London series. The first was in 2019 between the Yankees and the Red Sox.
Right, moving on to football now. South Korea's under-17 team has reached the semifinals of the Asian Cup.
Yes, that's right. A 4-1 win over the host nation Thailand in Sunday's quarter-final booked Korea's place in the last 4. Goals from Kang Min-woo, Kim Hyung-jun, Yoon Do-young and Kim Hyun-min sealed the win for Korea. And up next is either Saudi Arabia or Uzbekistan on Thursday at 9 p.m. Korea time. The Saudi versus Uzbekistan game kicks off at 9 p.m. tonight Korea time. Korea, though, they finished second in Group B on 6 points after wins over Qatar and Afghanistan, but defeat to Iran, who topped the group. Iran are also through to the semis and await the winners of Japan or Australia.
And the K-League season is at its halfway point. How is the title race going?
Well, not good, but for one team it's going very, very well. Yes, this past weekend the round 19 fixtures were held, the exact halfway point in the season. Now, reigning champions Ulsan Hyundai sit top of the table, 13 points clear of the chasing pack. Ulsan have lost just 2 matches this season thus far and have scored 43 goals, the most in the division. But fans have to go back to 2018 to see a one-horse title race like this. That season, Jeonbuk had a 14-point lead. But Ulsan went 17 years without a league title, but now look on course for back-to-back championships for the first time in their history. At the bottom end of the table, Suwon Blue Wings are now 4 points adrift at the bottom and 11 points from safety. Suwon have never been relegated. But Gwangju and Daejeon, meanwhile, sit 5th and 6th respectively after solid starts to life back in the top tier. The K-League 1 is played over 38 rounds, 33 of which are the regular season before the table splits into 2, and the top 6 play each other again, so too the bottom 6.
And finally to athletics, Woo Sung-hyuk is having quite a year.
Oh, he is indeed, yes. He's now the world's #1 high jumper in 2 different ways. At the 2023 National Athletics Championships on Sunday, Woo Sang-hyuk won the men's high jump final by clearing 2 meters 33. This moved him level with Juvon Harrison of the US, Joel Barden of Australia, and Russia's Ilya Ivanyuk, who also cleared the same height. The World Athletics Federation has 2 separate ranking systems, and Woo has been top of the ranking point since July 26 last year. Now he says the target is to clear 2 meters 37.
All right, thanks for the roundup, Paul. See you next week.
Thank you. See you.
The monsoon season officially started with rain on Jeju Island over the weekend. The rain front is forecast to move north and continue to soak the peninsula. Hours of heavy downpours will vary depending on the region. For tonight, central regions in Gyeongsangbuk-do province will see 20 to 40 millimeters per hour. By tomorrow, parts of the south and Jeju Island will see heavy downpours of 40 to 60 millimeters per hour. As for the overall amount of rainfall, Jeju Island will see up to 200 millimeters. Inland regions, including the Seoul metropolitan area, will see 30 to 100. The monsoonal rain system will start to weaken from tomorrow evening. These downpours may affect low-lying areas, valleys, rivers, and streams with flooding. Landslides are also possible with the ground becoming more saturated. Please take extra precautions beforehand. Under rainy spells, Seoul and Chuncheon will start off at 21 degrees Celsius. Highs in Seoul will get up to 28 degrees, Gwangju 30, Daegu and Gyeongju will be topping out at 32 degrees. The entire nation will see showers for the remainder of the work week. Make sure to have your umbrellas handy at all times. That's all for now, and here are the weather conditions around the world.
That is News Center for this evening. Thank you for watching. A panel session coming up.